All right, so
Where do you want to start now?
well, let's
So we
just
don't waste too much time and
start with
all
your
that.
bona fides.
The beginning?
When did you start in the military? What was
Okay.
your position?
I first entered in the Army as a 19 Echo 10, which is basically an armored specialist. And I first entered in through the I don't know if it's there anymore, but in Richmond, Virginia, that's where I took my medical and was approved and sworn in and all that there and everything. So and got my orders to report and go from there on train to Fort Knox.
Okay.
Okay,
And that year was 1980.
1980, October of 1980. And then I got there and went through the regular basic training of 3 weeks. Okay, that's 2.5 weeks, but 3 weeks is basically what it is because I came home for Christmas right afterwards. Well, the half of the 2.5 weeks and all the half of the week and all that towards the end of 3 weeks is when the incident happened out in formation one morning, which I explained to you before, and I'll go over it again and everything. Which is basically it was gloomy. It's in the fall, it's in the fall time.
Overcast.
I mean, uh, yeah, it's overcast and everything. No sun protruding except for when the clouds are accumulated like they are, you see a little bright sunlight trying to protrude it and everything. And right over Fort Knox, out in formation. Well, first of all, the drill sergeant, which is in that picture right up there. If you look at this picture right here,
Hmm.
there's two drill sergeants down there on the left side. See them? See those drill sergeants down there on the left side?
Yeah.
Tall one and a skinny one,
Uh huh.
black guys.
Yeah.
The big one, he was in front of us with the other one on the far right of us as you would be facing them. We were in formation at attention, just had come out and everything, and we seen him look up at the sky with his mouth open like this, looking. And we're standing there at attention. When you're at attention, you don't move, you don't look around, you don't say anything until they give you parade rest or at ease or whatever. But he, all of a sudden, he told us to do an about face, and and we looked in the direction, and he said, "Do you guys see that?" And we all looked up there and seen the same thing he saw, which was basically a huge golden sphere, and it wasn't emitting any light, any huge light or anything that would blind you or anything like that. It was a sphere that was like a polished bronze color,
Metallic.
metallic looking thing, and it was uh, brilliant looking. But it was huge, and it was just sitting there quietly over over Fort Knox, and there. It didn't encompass the whole
No.
fort.
No sound.
No sound, nothing, just sitting there. And we sat there looking at it and everything, and he came around and made us go at ease. We were, of course, we had done about face. He made us go at ease and then rest where we could move around or look, and we were all sitting there gazing at it and looking at it. And we saw it sit there, and then it shrunk into a blue sphere, blue, kind of like sky blue
Hmm.
looking thing, and then it shrunk down to this small, and this happened in a matter of 20 minutes,
Oh,
in a 20
slowly.
minute period, yeah. And it shrunk down into this small ball of white,
So you were literally standing there, and it
looking
was
at,
sitting there stationary for over 20 minutes.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then it shrunk down to a small white sphere and then dissipated. It just poof, it's gone.
Okay.
And we heard, oh, they had in Fort Knox, they had up on the poles near all the battalion or barracks or near the barracks, they had big speakers to announce stuff and everything. We heard over the speakers, everybody that's out in formation now get back to their barracks until further notice. So he ordered us into formation and in column, and we marched back up into the barracks and all that, and he ordered us all to go back up into our barracks to our rooms and stay there until further notice. And they had speakers in the hallways where they could announce stuff, and they could wake you up in the morning with a. They had a microphone down there where they would kick buckets and rattle things to wake us up and say up, out in formation in 10 minutes, you know, and all
Mm-hmm.
that crap. So anyhow, we started hearing these names come over the intercom.
Of
People
witness.
that were in the company, which was Delta 2-1, is the company I was in. And my name came up. After about the sixth call, and I knew the guys they were calling. I understood, but what surprised me is why they're picking out certain people,
But not others.
but not others, not everybody. So we got uh, called, and when they called our name, they told us come down to the main entrance and all that and wait. And then the drill sergeant came out of his office, and both of those guys, and they said you're to report over to the battalion headquarters, to the captain there, and wait there in the lobby until he calls you in. And you're in the military for the first time.
You do what you're told.
You're trained and you're told to do, when you do something, you move. You don't question it. You don't say, why am I going over here? You just know, you just go. Okay, you with me?
Yes.
All right. So we went. And of course, in Fort Knox, that's basic training place and all. It's also where they had Fort Knox, where they kept the gold and everything,
Right.
you know. Uh, it's a tank, basically, it's tank training, basic training place and all. It's where they came out with the XM1, which is now the Abrams tank
Mm-hmm.
and all that, but it was XM1. It was experimental when I went in there. Uh, but they uh, uh, the basically uh, it when you go there, it's basically their basic training. It's basic training, the physical training, all that stuff for the first three. Oh, watch your coffee. He's gonna spill it. First 3 weeks and all that is basic physical training and army induction training and all that, where you learn your code of conducts and all that, and the military way of doing things and all that stuff, and weapon familiarization and all that. So anyhow,
You
so
you got called
we
in.
we got called, and we were down there, and the drill sergeant told us to head over there and just wait over there until you're called in. And so we all go over there, and we're basically, when we got outside and we're heading over there. Oh, what I was trying to, the point I was trying to get is when you went from one building to the other, you always walked in formation.
Right.
It was no
Straight lines.
separate, or because you're in training, you're in basic training. You go
You
everywhere you
you
go,
march over
you
there.
march, run, whatever they tell you to do. That's how it's done. It's none of this individuality stuff where you go and you bebop down the road like Bill Murray did in which he, by the way, he filmed that movie Stripes. If you've ever seen it,
Mm-mm.
there when I was there.
Oh, funny.
Stripes, you know, where they did the do what diddy diddy dum diddy do
Mm-hmm.
song.
Yeah.
They don't do that in the army.
Oh, well,
They don't.
it's a work of fiction.
Yeah, well, he was making fun of the army basically. Anyhow, so we marched over there, but in between the time we're marching over there, we're whispering back and forth to each other. Well, what the hell they want us for?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why are we just the ones they want us to go over there? You know. And we're talking about. He said, I bet it has something to do with that thing we saw over there. I bet it has something to do. Sure enough, and all that. When we get over there, they bring us in the office one at a time into the captain's office.
Mm-hmm.
And he explains that he has us at attention at first and salute him, you know, and all that stuff. And then he says, sit down. And he said, we have a special project that we've got going on here. And once you've finished your 3 weeks of basic training, if you want to, you can enter it. And it's a project and all that has to do with national security.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very special, very honorable to get this, to be able to get this position. If you and you've been picked along with others, hand-picked and all that, uh, to be part of it. If you want, if you volunteer, if you agree and you want to, after your 3 weeks of basic and everything, you can enter it, and then you'll get special orders, and you'll also uh, you'll get briefed on exactly what it is that it is and what you'll do, and you'll have a special clearance on and everything. And but it's this is something you have to decide for yourself. If you don't want it, if you don't want to do it,
So they
and all
didn't
that,
they didn't give you specifics on
not at
what it
that
was.
time.
They just made it sound enticing,
Special,
special. You get special
like
designations.
you're being assigned to guard the president or something like
Right,
that, you know.
right.
Or
And you're young, and you've.
and I at the time, see, my granddad was on Eisenhower's staff in World War II. And he was part of the plan. He devised the plans for the takeover of the Bridge of Remagen in World War II,
Hmm.
and that's why I was picked because of that information.
Because you had former military family
And they
success.
trusted it, and they and the same was for the guys, other guys that was picked. Now, and I can tell you later how that information was obtained and all that. It was through them that sphere was basically looking at us and all that and getting the information compiled and all on every single person was out in that formation. It wasn't just our company. It was other companies out there that saw it. They were all over the parade ground out there and was looking at it. We weren't the only
So
ones.
you're saying that the sphere was the thing that
Gathering information.
collected the information
Information,
on you guys.
and whoever that's there that's in contact with that, which is another story altogether, was getting that information from that and was getting these people picked out to bring
Okay.
in to brief
Okay.
on the possibility of. Now
You didn't have to
you
do it.
didn't have to volunteer or
It
enter
was
it.
an
They didn't
option.
care. It
But
was
you
optional.
did.
But because I was 19 and was adventurous type, was young, was
Had it all in front of you.
was excited, and I was excited about when I first went in there about Patton and all that. I'd seen Patton the movie
And
and
of
all that,
course,
and I'd seen the history on my grandfather and stuff, and I was psyched up. I wanted to do something special, and what
absolutely,
better way
to
than
serve your country.
that to serve my country than to go right in from basic training right into something real neat
Yeah.
like Green Berets or Special Forces or anything that was different than. See, when I first went in, I didn't want to be on tanks. I didn't want to get tanks. I didn't want to do infantry either, and that's the two choices I got when I was going through the inductorial process up in Richmond and the medical and all that.
Hmm.
They said you got two choices, and maybe later when you're in there you can choose other things once you've got some time in there and stuff.
Wanted to go out.
Anyhow,
All right. So you
so anyhow,
you
where did I leave
decided
off?
to go with the program, and I guess you got briefed.
after he told us, after the captain told us and everything, what we were picked for and what we could decide on if we wanted to get into the program, it would be a decision that once you made it and everything, there ain't no, once you sign the papers on it, there is no backing out of it. You're in it.
Right.
And he did tell us that you would have one of the highest clearances in the country. You'd have the clearance you'd have, he said, was higher than the president. And that really stunned me.
What
And the clearance was a Luna clearance.
Luna?
Luna clearance.
Luna. Luna.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And believe me, anybody that's got any information out there that knows anything about clearances will know what that Luna clearance
Okay.
is and how high it goes up the minute they hear it. So, anyhow, so after the 3 weeks, I went through finished the basic training and everything, and graduated from that. And I went home. They let us go home for Christmas. And this is before we ever signed up on the thing and was entered into it or knew anything or did anything. So went home for Christmas, and then bam, back down there and everything. And that's when we were hit with what we were going to go into. And given the choice to go into it or sign the paper and go into it or back out of it and finish your AIT, your Advanced Individual Training, which would be the training for tanks and armor. And so I signed it and went in. And uh, I wished I hadn't, because a short time, I'd say a little bit over a year, not much more, I said, I don't want in this no more. And that's when they said, well, you're going to have to, we're going to have to formulate your record and everything to the point where uh, uh, you're not connected to this anymore. So we're sending you over to Germany and finish your armored training over there, and that'll be on your record as that's what you did while you're in here. Of course, it took me pitching a bitch to get them to do this, because once you're in that thing, they didn't want you to.
They wanted you to go all
They
the
want
way.
you to keep going till you were too old to be in there and everything. But basically, to boil it down in a nutshell, I was because of that clearance and being in the program, I had access to all the underground facilities that they got that nobody knows about. Down underneath the bases, military bases that connect, they all connect. The Air Force, Area 51,
Navy.
all of them here. That's where you get these people hearing noises and stuff in Florida and up in Wisconsin and all that. You've heard this lately. You hear these they hear these noises and rumblings and stuff like that. That's just new stuff that they're facilitating and all that. More room. That's all. Part of that, there's so much information on this and all, it'd take forever and all that to get it all documented. But basically, the stuff underground is part of a way of survival and everything
In the
in
event
this.
of an apocalypse.
Well, in this, yes, and to nail it down in a nutshell.
If there was some sort of nuclear or volcanic.
Well, now it has something to do with events that's going to happen that they know about.
Okay.
They know what's going to happen, and this will come in. You'll understand what I'm talking about when I tell you and everything exactly what the led up to them knowing and everything, which was basically to make it in a nutshell, or to bring it into a clearness. In 47, these particular vehicles, dimensional vehicles, interdimensional. In other words, these are not UFOs from outer space, not space aliens, not vehicles from way out in the universe
These are
somewhere.
like
These are interdimensional. In other words, there's dimensions that are right here and right here when we're sitting here.
but they're
This is our dimension.
and it's extra.
And they're around us, but they can't enter our dimension without a special vehicle that can break the gravity and everything,
Change the vibrational.
everything,
Yes.
and all, without getting because you could go on forever explaining the technology of this and everything, and that can be at a later date. So I want to get to the main
I
points,
understand what you're talking about.
which is there are several different vehicles, but these particular vehicles, and they've been coming forever, as long as man can know, and all, they've been coming and monitoring certain things and making sure they happen the way they're supposed to happen. They were monitoring the nuclear test out in White Sands Missile Range area in Roswell, New Mexico, that area in New Mexico.
Hmm.
Okay? They were coming there. Only trouble is with those vehicles are because it's electromagnetic force that helps to operate these particular vehicles. They can get disrupted by natural events in our weather patterns and stuff that they can't anticipate. And there was a
Thunderstorms.
huge thunderstorm, lightning storm happening at the particular time they were coming monitoring a particular particular thing there, and they got knocked out into our time, into our
Dimension. Now,
dimension.
how did you come into this information? What did this have to do with the? Did this have anything to do with the?
They told us. They
That's what you.
briefed us.
Okay.
They took us in a room down in this place and all. Well, first of all, they took us all out, and it wasn't just me and the guys in my barracks that was chosen, that signed up for it. It was other guys all across the base that had the same thing happen at the same time we did, and was signed up with it and agreed to it and all that. So we all drove over there to this hangar there at Fort Knox, where they had the aircrafts and all that, and helicopters and all that stuff, out there, big air strip and all that crap. They took us out there in 2.5s and 5 tons in the back of it, drove us in the hangar, and then we got out and everything, and they all took us to this platform that basically was looked like a steel plate with a garter around it and
Hmm.
everything, and they had a stand on it, and then it took us down to about a 200-foot level where we got off, and then there was these, I call them tunnels, ramps, or whatever, that went down further and everything. And we went down further and all that, hundreds of feet down there. And at that point, there was this security there at this particular door that was highly secured and all that. You couldn't, with the biggest blast, you couldn't. It was a
Just
blast door,
huge doors.
huge doors, and all that with uh, all kinds of ways to recognize with special equipment they had up there to see who was coming and all that stuff. Uh, anyhow, our security badges that we had that were they were yellow, just a badge and all that had a code on it, and they checked us all one at a time going through there. Then when we went through there, they locked the door behind us. And then we went in, and it was just all kinds of facilities in there. You know, there was rooms, and there was briefing rooms, and there was garage size, hangar size rooms and everything with special equipment and all that stuff. But they brought us into the first room, not too far down from that, where they all took us in there at one time, and they briefed us on what we were going to be doing.
Okay, and
and
what did they?
what the deal was and all that. And they explained us everything I'm telling you about the Roswell thing and what took place and
Okay,
uh,
so they briefed you on the Roswell thing, and they basically said that what it was a craft from the future, from future Earth, coming back to monitor something, and they got caught in an electrical storm, which
there was
caused the
two of them.
two
Two of them,
two
and
craft.
they got knocked out. One of them was completely destroyed, with the occupants in it destroyed, and the other one, three of them was killed, not killed but destroyed, and one of the machines, and I call them that, survived.
So
These are
the
they were
the
AIs
entities on the craft you say are destroyed, not killed, because why?
because they are AIs. They're artificial intelligent robotic, whatever you want to call them,
They're like biomechanical machines
biomechanical machines and everything that are computerized
by
and
future Earth humans.
yes, and they can control the ship and everything with their circuits and all that stuff. And the reasons why they use them is because humans can't go through time. They cannot
Are
travel through time and all, or
organic
the
matter.
organic matter cannot travel through interdimensional way. That's why everybody out here that's had encounters with those so-called aliens and stuff like that, they're confused and all that, or what they are, and they're always puzzled, and we're trying to figure out where they came from and what this is and what that is, and there's different kinds and everything. And the descriptions you've heard of them doing autopsies and different things, and not they never find any organs
In the
in
beings.
the beings and all that, if you want to call them that. They never find, because it's hydraulics and circuitry, you know.
In the grays.
Yeah, wouldn't it make more sense to you that when they say their blood is green or whatever, that it would be hydraulic fluid than blood and everything? Wouldn't that make more sense to
Yeah,
you
if it
and all
was a
that?
machine.
Right. So that's basically what it is, and one of them survived.
So what did they say? You mentioned or alluded to some event that was going to happen, and the steps to
Well,
reach that event.
what I'm, in order to understand that, you have to understand where they got the information from initially, which was from the crash.
Okay.
For years and up into the 50s and 60s, they tried to figure out the materials and how it worked and what material used to work these particular crafts. Of course, one of them was completely destroyed. One of them was intact to the point where they could get a lot of stuff off. Uh, the fiber optics and fire retarded stuff and laser stuff and all this kind of stuff that came out like a boom and all that in the 80s and stuff like that. Yeah,
Semiconductors.
all that kind of stuff came out from that stuff and all that. Uh, that Corsican guy, uh, Colonel, he was telling the truth. He was down there. I seen him. I seen him down there and everything. He was part of the ones that was working with Bell Laboratory and all that to develop that stuff. They'll tell you today and all they're lying and all. Bell had nothing to do with that. They were contracted out by the military to uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Back engineer,
Reverse engineer.
reverse engineer this stuff and all. But they were trying to do this unannounced to this one that was still working, was still mechanically working until it failed. It finally failed and everything.
The
But
the gray.
yeah, it finally failed and everything, and then that was it. They were on their own from that point on until later and all that. Now, thing is, they were trying to get information from the one that and keep it functioning until they and got this information from them on different things and everything, and uh, they couldn't get much, because they're dealing with future stuff, and they didn't want to disrupt that. So these
So
things are programmed a certain way to do things and act when they get into our.
So let me just try and elaborate on that. If I get what you're saying that the uh, the biomechanical machine we call gray aliens,
Yeah.
they are programmed to self-destruct or turn
No.
off.
No.
No,
No.
to turn off or
No.
to fail.
No. This one was damaged. So but it's programmed not to, if it is captured in any
Right.
way,
Okay.
or if
So
it's retained in any way, its programming and everything will not allow it to bring any information about anything in the future where it came from.
because it could disrupt
It
the
could disrupt
timeline.
anything. It could disrupt anything,
So
events
sort of
that's
like the
supposed to.
butterfly effect,
Yeah, well, sort of.
like
You could say that.
you wouldn't want to have a distortion in the timelines based on this but there was a distortion because we got the materials and the engineering
And that's why they came back.
to give that to us,
No, they came back for to.
prevent.
No, they came back to gather up the materials that was lost, the crafts, pieces, whatever materials was lost, and found out it was too far retained and recorded and da da da. They decided to work with the military and give and divulge what their purpose was and what they were doing, and then work with them secretly.
So there was a treaty,
Yeah, sort
an
of. And they
agreement
had it in the Pentagon. They
between.
talked about it in the Pentagon back in this time that I'm talking about, and discussed it behind closed doors, and came up with the solution to keep this program ultra secret. And the president at that time was, of course, Truman. All right. So he when Eisenhower took over and everything, at that particular time they were full fledged into discussing and negotiating with them exactly how they would help them and help them. You know,
So
so
in other words, these people in the future, or the beings, the craft, the
well,
machines.
this is stuff we've developed in the future.
Right, but they came back to get something, and they came back to get the missing parts,
Yes.
and
So there wouldn't
since
be no evidence and
since
all that other.
to prevent, because they knew the crash happened,
Right.
and they tried to get this
Right.
stuff before the military could get it, but because the military
They'd
was
already got
had
it.
already gotten it, they found themselves in a situation where they had to negotiate.
Things had already, events had already taken place that there's no way they could really change it
Okay, and
and all
so
that.
out of that came a sort of um, a truce, or an
An
agreement
agreement.
between the military-industrial complex
Agreement.
and this, what would you call it? Another race, or
The
mach-
machines, basically, these AIs and all that.
Okay, and so what were we were getting technology, I'm assuming, in exchange for
Help with the technology we already had from them, from the
to
crash.
reverse engineer it,
Right. Help with developing it to the point
that we
to
could use it.
where we could use it and all, but not the technology of the time, uh, dimensional travel. They weren't going to
Other
give us that.
technology.
We'll give you technology that will help you with your developing computers and different things and all. That was the exchange and all for defense purposes.
Allegedly defense.
Yes, but they've been using it for more than just defense and all that. Anyhow, uh, I got to get this out because there has to be an understanding of where the president's involvement is, and certain people in Congress and all in the government. There are certain people in the government on certain committees, and also the president, that are aware of this program and its final outcome. And because of what they know, There's no way they'll. There's no way that they'll
Blow the cover.
blow the cover because they don't want an all-out panic. They don't want an all-out people just heading into the street with guns and going nuts and everything, and that's what would happen.
If it
I
was
mean,
found out.
if you knew that your survival rating and all that in December of 2012 was going to be probably zip, very low chance of survival and all that, you'd go nuts too. You'd go out there and start a revolution too and everything. And they wanted to keep that from happening.
And why
So
is
they know about it. Obama knows about it. Clinton knew about it. Bush knew about it. They all know about it. And I'll give you the proof that they all know about it. How many years has been going on? Spending, never doing anything with the deficit. Just spend, and it gets higher every
ever since
year
World War
and
II?
everything. And the people out here in America are going, hey, come on now, we're telling you stop the spending and stop all these damn crazy programs and everything. Stop the spending. And what are they doing on TV and all to us? Laughing.
Yeah.
They're, yeah, we hear you. Are we supposed to be in charge? Aren't we
Yes,
the people
we
supposed to be in charge and what we want supposed to happen? That's why Eisenhower warned us, made that little warning in his farewell speech. Because he knew, even though he knew what he knew and was briefed on it, he knew that at least he'd get that little bit out
hmm
and let the people
plant a seed.
plant a seed and let the people decide what they wanted to do and all that because he knew how far it was going to go from his point on.
hmm
The military industrial complex, and they are way beyond that now since Eisenhower.
Oh yeah.
Way beyond that.
Well, I had a conversation with a coworker about the UFO incidents, and he asked me if the military was testing, and I said, you know, you can go to the Air and Space Museum near D.C. and you can see all these advanced weaponry, but those craft that they
They're
have up
just for
there,
show.
they're just for show.
They're just for
They
show, like
had
the
those
stealth.
they had those out. You know, they were designed in the 50s, but they weren't even declassified till like the 70s and the 80s. So,
Yeah,
what you think they stopped those programs? Of course
yeah, and
not.
they shot down the first stealth bomber and all that flew over Russia and everything.
Or
Remember that?
Iran?
Yeah. Well, you remember the one that flew over the first one, the AR 50, what is it? AR 87 or whatever it was. That stealth bomber,
Mm-hmm.
and that guy got shot down by the Russians over Russia and all that. But they eventually let him go and come back and everything. But they kept the parts to it and everything. You figure if they had that kind of technology from the time thing, from the future and everything, they'd have stuff that was way more advanced than that.
Oh yeah.
But if you had that and you had that for defense,
Nobody
you
could.
think you'd want to show people in the world that you had it? See, that's the key to it and all. They're actually protecting us. The United States of America is being protected and all that in a certain way. Uh, and in another way and all that, uh, they're destroying our rights,
Mm-hmm.
which is bad. They're overriding the Constitution, which I don't like. That's why I'm one of the reasons why I'm coming out with this stuff because I believe that the way this country was started, our forefathers started it with the Constitution and everything. They had it right.
Mm-hmm.
They were inspired by God to write that Constitution in the way where it protected human beings to pursue happiness without interference from the government,
Right.
and the government isn't their God and
Exactly.
all that. And they have played God for the last
60,
something years, yeah.
hundreds of years.
Well, yeah. But they've been in control, and they are still in control, and they're more massively in control now than ever before and everything. And the only thing the only reason that this information be good to get out now is because the time is short, for one thing, and two is that it'll give people a chance to make a decision on what they want to do.
Okay. Now
Individual.
you've mentioned
Yes.
this decision before, and an event of some kind as well as prophecy. Can we get
Okay,
towards
yeah. Okay. Well,
where you came about this information,
in the
what it has to do with the military industrial
initial
complex?
briefing was all the information
So
about it.
was 2012 ever discussed in your briefing?
2012, yeah.
Okay,
December.
can you go into that?
They even talked about uh, they even talked about the Mayan calendar
Okay.
and why that and why we didn't know anything
And
about
this
the
was in
Mayan.
1980.
Yeah, they talked about the calendar of the Mayans running out in 2012, and the reason why they knew it is because these uh, AIs from the future helped them build or get the technology to build those
Originally.
pyramid and the information that they have, because everybody's been trying to figure out how these natives that were in the jungle
Could build that.
could have such advanced technology on the stellar on the universe and the stars and all that stuff, and how they were able to build these fantastic structures and the mathematical
Precision.
precision of how they're built and everything. And then all of a sudden they disappeared.
Right.
And the calendar from the end of it is gone. It doesn't continue on. It just like stops right there
Yeah.
and everything.
I actually saw a program recently that said the Mayan calendar measures a year within a hundredth of a decimal
Yeah.
compared to the atomic clock, and even the atomic clock says that they have a margin of error five
Well, these,
times that
yeah,
precision. So the Mayan calendar is probably right
it is right. And they're not the only ones.
in measuring time.
Well, they're not the only ones
The,
and everything,
the,
but
the pyramids did too.
throughout history, throughout thousands of years of history, uh, well, first there was there's been so far there's been two ages, first Earth age and a second Earth age. We're in the second Earth age. First Earth age was when the dinosaurs was here and everything. During that period is when the angels and all that, and that's biblical, were cast out of heaven for fighting against God. The devil and all was cast out with the angels and everything, and that's another story altogether. But the point I'm trying to make is, from that time on and everything, there has been messages sent and embedded in rock and stuff in different eras of time
Yes,
to give us
the code.
code information.
Did they talk about this in your briefing?
Yeah, yeah, it told us all and all where we were so convinced and everything that what we were doing was important that we didn't even question it anymore. We just did what we had to do. We thought it was a regular thing.
So really, you were assisting the military
And just
industrial complex build. Oh,
we were
you were assisting them build in preparation for
preparation. There's the
this
word
event,
that's going to happen in 2012.
or that they thought or believed or knew,
They knew for a fact.
according to what they had heard,
You know, they knew for a fact,
that it was
and
going to
they
happen.
still know. And they still know now. That's why they're laughing at you on TV and everything whenever someone's questioning about the deficit and the money problems and all that stuff. They don't give a damn. They don't care.
Hmm.
They don't care because they know what the outcome's going to be. It's all going to be in a short period of time and all that. All this stuff it ain't going to make no, uh, ain't going to mean nothing. And I'll give you another clue and all that is, you've heard of the Georgia Stones?
Guidestones.
Guidestones?
Yeah,
What's the population on there?
500 million,
Mm-hmm. How many is in the world now?
7 billion. I know. I know about the depopulation
Mm-hmm.
agenda.
Yeah, well, that's the way the depopulation is going to happen, but it's not going to be happening through war. It's going to be happening through a extraterrestrial event that will happen that's even described in the Bible.
Okay, now they briefed you on this.
Yeah,
What did they say would happen?
the
Uh,
sun go dark, the moon turn red, and all that stuff. What does that describe to you? Remember the Ice Age? You remember what happened in the Ice Age when the sun was blotted out through the uh, Earth being hit and all, and stuff going in the atmosphere and all
Mm-hmm.
that crap? This is some scary stuff and all that. I'm going to tell you that right now. But that's what I'm talking about, to where you can't live on out here in the ground. So to make it long, make it short, what my part of the project, what my involvement in the project was basically helping with preparation uh, to and loading up particular crafts that were basically going to the backside of the moon, and they have built over the years. It's been finished for since the '60s, uh, and that's one of the reasons why Kennedy came up with the got to go to the moon, got to do it before the century's out.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to go spy on what they were doing. See, the president is briefed and told he has no clearance and all above that, and it's documented. They have documents signed and all where the president doesn't have a high enough clearance to even come out in public and tell anybody. And if he is, they'll get rid of him.
I've heard that before. I mentioned to you
It's documented. It's out there. You can see it on the internet if you
Stephen
want to.
Greer. Yeah, Stephen Greer said that.
He doesn't have clearance to see it,
Right.
to discuss it or anything, but he's briefed on it.
Well,
Why do you think Obama's hair is turning gray?
exactly. Stephen Greer said that
He knows.
during the Clinton administration that uh, he had dinner with Hillary, or I think he briefed James Woolsey, the CIA director,
Yeah.
and the president, I think, expressed that he was frustrated because how do you disclose something to the public
You can't.
that you don't have access to?
You can't.
And I think Lawrence Rockefeller had an initiative to get.
Rockefeller knows,
Oh yeah, of course
and
they
the
do.
Bilderbergers know,
Yeah.
because who do you think's footing all this stuff?
Well,
The money.
that's where the occult economy, the
Yeah, the
secret money
big bankers, the ones that has controls the monetary, the money in the world,
money
they're
changers.
the ones that are involved in it, and they're part of the escape, I call it.
Uh huh.
They're part of the ones that are going to go onto the moon when this stuff happens.
Now, uh,
And they're going to be there to wait out. Because there's going to be a period, let me get things something straight. The earth is not going to be destroyed, but the environment to be able to live like we are now and everything is going to be changed to the point where a lot of people are going to perish
mhm.
and all that. That's the reality of it. But there's people that have already been approved and assigned and all that. And I'll give you a hint and all that. They also are some. There's a lot of people that are high up. They got a lot of money, high ups, even in Hollywood,
Mhm.
you know,
Who have
that have access to, that are given access to certain information. I'll give you one guy. Spielberg is one of them.
so I know what you're talking about because you're
They come out with movies
preconditioned.
to precondition people on certain things, to calm them down, to where they're desensitized to events that could happen.
Like
Uh,
Independence Day or.
Spielberg was used for a long time, from the '70s right on up until the uh, till now, to look at the movies he's made. Close Encounters of the Third Kind was the first UFO type, what you want to call. That was based on a true story that was given to him from military people. Not everything, but he used dramatic purposes on some things in that, like the little people coming out of the ship at the end and them taking people away and stuff like that. That was all dramatic stuff and all. But the event happened, and uh, my sister's husband,
Have.
he knows about that, the Holloman Air Force Base
Hmm.
deal. He talked to Air Force people and all that knows that happened there and everything, where they came down there and everything. and they had a
Interaction.
interaction. What the interaction is another story, but it wasn't like what was in the movie. But that was one thing. They decided to use Spielberg as a way to uh, bring things out a little bit at a time to desensitize people to events that are going to happen
Right.
and everything. That was the first one.
Well, that's sort of like 9/11. There's so many examples of 9/11 uh, being subtly inserted into different cartoons or, you know,
$5 bill.
Hollywood or the $5 bill or
You
the
fold it a certain
right,
way, it shows the exact picture of it.
right, and it's all preconditioning so that when it happens, it's something that
And
we.
everybody thinks, oh, this is just coincidence.
But it's not. It's subconsciously preconditioning us to accept. But I want to get back to the choice that we have to make, because there's a side to pick and there's a side not to pick.
Yeah, it's
Because
called good and evil.
right
You're either
now,
on the good side or the evil side.
this is gonna. You say that you want to get this information out so that people have a better understanding of what to pick and what decision to make. Um, is there anything specifically that you learned that can help people understand?
Get underground. 7 years. If you can get underground and you can stay there for 7 years and survive and all, everything will be fine. After that, you can come back out. How's that for you?
That's what they were preparing for, I guess.
They're already prepared for it.
They're already prepared for it.
Everything's up there now, and I'll tell you the evidence to prove that it is up. When was the last time you heard of a triangle ship and all, mile wide and all that
Well,
being
actually,
seen?
when you mentioned that, I did some research on the internet, and somebody mentioned a TR-3B. It's I looked it up, and it's an alleged reconnaissance vehicle in the exact shape that you were talking about, like a tetrahedron
Hmm.
or a
Those
triangular.
are transports for items.
And
They're
you wrote
not individual crafts. Their used purpose is for to go over top of a city or go over top of an area of population and everything and gather stuff up and then leave. That's what happened in Phoenix.
right.
They were gathering things up and all that, and that's why they only glided real slowly over Phoenix and everything. Everybody's taking pictures and no. They don't care. They don't care if you see them because they'll just say it's a UFO, it's from space aliens, because we don't have anything that friggin' big and all that. We don't have anything that
They
size.
made a
So
big
it's
joke.
got to be from outer space, and it's a Mars, it's a Martian, it's this or whatever and all. And they just laugh it up because they know everybody's got this embedded in their head. E.T. Phone home, they've got it out there with the movies and all that stuff. They got everybody thinking that these things are aliens and that we're all going to be, there's something going to, big awakening going to happen in 2012 where we get visited by aliens and all that. And that's the evil side of it.
So
That's evil.
you think that the group of people who believe 2012 is going to involve an extraterrestrial event.
No, it's not going to happen. It ain't going to happen. I don't care what. And of course, there are going to be people say I'm a liar and that he's full of crap or he's nuts or whatever. I don't give a damn and all that because if they knew what I knew and went through and everything, they'd think different. But if they're smart and they put the puzzles together that I'm putting the pieces in right now, and they fit them into what the stuff they already know, it'll make sense to them what is going on. Because what makes more sense to you? A vast, intelligent race of people and all from outer space, millions of light years away, visiting a Neanderthal race of people like us and all considered based on their intelligence able to make a craft that's able to come that way, that distance and all through space to come here to interact with us in ways that it makes us discover them. Come on now, use your intelligence and all. That's what I say. Use your intelligence and say, makes more sense to me that it may be something that we've developed in the years future. You know, way out there in the future. You know.
Now,
Now that's not to say that I know where in the future they got that technology and how they developed it. I have no idea of that because they never would say that.
see,
They never would tell that information.
there is a group of
My guess is that they got it from God and all, but you know, I don't know.
well, the stuff that I've been reading, it really talks about um, the idea that God, the Creator,
Mm-hmm.
would not have just created this race on this earth, but actually life is just exploding everywhere in the universe, and we are one of many races uh, that came from God, but
But if you keep on searching that information or searching that line of knowledge, it distracts you from really the truth that you really need to know and looking for. That's the way I look at it and everything from my point of view. You're going to distract yourself because it makes more sense to me and everything, and it would to you if you think about it, that anything that was that intelligent, let's say that we have no idea how old the universe is and how and God's plan or anything, right? And we don't till He tells us what it is. But just on that pretense alone that you believe that there's a God and He created everything, all that, you think for a minute, unless He wanted you to, He'd let you know anything else He's done before us. Why? Why would He tell you unless He wanted to? And maybe you'll know in the future. I don't know. But right now, you aren't going to know that part. He's not going to let you know that and everything right now. That's my opinion and all that. And I'm not saying that there is not a possibility that there is other things out there millions of light years away in other universes, because it's already been proven that there is other universes out there just like ours, just like the Milky Way
right,
galaxy.
of course,
There's millions of them,
infinite.
infinite. Yeah, infinitesimal amount of universes out there, and vast distances, and we'd have to be naive to think that there isn't other um, creations out there that he he was testing or developing or whatever in his own way and all that. The bottom line is, if you ain't in direct contact with it, and it's not sitting there in front of you, and you can't just ask it questions, interrogate it, then it's time to move on and decide what your future is. What's the line? What is the facts? Put the facts together on things. Put the puzzles together, like through information I'm given, and then come to a conclusion where you stand and
Hmm.
all that, and where what you should do and everything. Because
So you're offering your piece of the puzzle.
I'm offering the piece of the puzzle that has stumped everyone out there. People that think they've been abducted, people that have seen uh, UFOs, people that have seen things that have been
So
clandestinely
people,
done through the
you're basically
military.
making the point that those who think that there's an extraterrestrial crafts and beings that are abducting people, they are mistaken to think that those are
Exactly.
anything but military
And
operations.
they will, and there's some that will absolutely be in total denial from the information I'm given, and still insist that they were abducted by aliens and stuff and probed and all that stuff.
Right.
And I tell them, if that's what you want to believe, then go ahead, believe it.
Hmm.
But I'm telling you, it doesn't happen. It's not happening. That's not it. That's not what you were. I'm not saying the event didn't happen to them,
Right.
what they how they described it. I'm just telling them that what they thought it was is not what it is.
You're really speaking more towards the abduction phenomenon,
Hmm.
because the people that I'm reading and following, they are contactees of extraterrestrial races, but it never has anything to do with abduction or testing. It has more to do with the spiritual progression of Earth to help people wake up and help people.
Well, I'll be honest with you and all that. I'm not even going to talk about that stuff and all that because I have never experienced that.
Well,
I don't believe in that kind of stuff and all that. Uh, and I've lived quite a long time now and everything, and I have never seen anything to the contrary. That to me, a lot of that stuff that you're talking about is stuff that has been. Um, it's like a domino effect. When somebody tells a story about some fantastic thing and all that, and then you get a branch of people coming up with all kinds of different stories, and all it does is confuse people. That's what's happening with that. When the UFO thing, disinformation stuff came out uh, by the military to make people think the alien story and all that stuff, and they'll, of course, they make it sound like, oh no 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 no, we don't think there's nothing visiting us, and we they at the same time they're sending the information out, they're denying that it even exists.
it's like a psychological warfare.
It's a thing where they have it balanced to where they got everybody thinking that these UFOs and stuff are alien from outer space and all that stuff and everything. That's what they want them to think, and they did a good job of doing it
Hmm.
and everything. So what you have is two kinds of people out here. One that just tells you the experience that they had, what they've seen, and they don't make any real evaluation of it. They just say, this happened to me. And then you got people that are coming up with bullshit stories. They're
Making things
nuts.
up in their
They're
head.
nuts, and they're mystical, and they don't believe in God and all that, and they're atheists and everything. So they come up with these crazy stories and everything, and they make it sound so believable because they believe it
Hmm.
and everything, that people start saying, "Man, maybe that's it, or maybe that could be it," and everything. They don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They're just trying to get somebody to notice them, or they're trying to sell a book, or they're trying to do something, but other than tell you the truth or what's really happening and everything, and the story's made up. It's made up and everything. So, uh, and that's all right. That's what makes the world creative and interesting and all that. Is there's all kinds of people out there. I'm not condemning them, or I'm not telling them don't do it and all that, but uh, but they're really confusing people that really want the truth about what's going on and everything, and why it seems like no matter what people do here in the country, they can't get the government to do what they're supposed to do by the people. The people are the ones that are supposed to be in charge, telling the government what to do, and they haven't been for a long time.
Hmm. And there's a reason for
And
that.
the reason is exactly what I've been explaining to you from the get go.
Is
And
that they are secretly preparing
for
for.
an event that will make it obsolete if the right people, if enough people don't know about it, they will not survive.
So, can you talk a little bit more about the year that you spent in these underground tunnels and what you
Loading up,
physically
basically
witnessed?
loading up ships and all that, and had the machinery that we had to do it with made it effortless. They had, uh, like, you know, let's say, here's a good example. Like, if you were in a warehouse where you're loading trucks up or something like that, you have stuff that is still of this uh, man-made era and all that, wheeled carts and pallet jacks and stuff like that, and everything, to where it's hard work to push stuff around and load stuff up in a truck, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had stuff down there that was developed from the technology they got, everything where it just no gravity.
Anti-gravitic.
Yeah, you just floated You can just push it with your finger and all that, and it just moved and effortlessly. You could whistle whistle and smoke a cigarette and all that and just push it around and stuff. That stuff was fascinating to me
Wow.
and everything. As far as lifting it up and putting it into a compartment and everything, you just take it, like that and just go like that and put it in and everything, and the machine just slid it into its compartment and then it locked it up and everything, and that was it, and you went on to get some more stuff. That's basically what we were doing, where we were loading stuff up, and those triangular ships they have compartments in them on either side, and the reason why that they're triangular shape is they get more room and have more room for you to get in there and put the stuff and load it up and everything.
Do
And
you know what the cargo was?
it was different things, but they would never let us know what was in it. We saw some things that we were able to get an idea of some of the things they were loading up in there. Basically, they were supplies for the base on the moon and everything. They were stuff that could be preserved and everything to
Food.
bring back and everything, and seed stuff,
So,
seed, uh, freeze dried stuff,
so this is
uh,
stuff that would they would be able to have after the event,
after the event, so they
so
could
that
survive,
those who were preserved would be able to live
continue
on
on.
Earth
Yes, continue
and
on.
procreate.
Go turn around and bring it right on back and all that, and repopulate
So
and
these people really wanted to become God on Earth
well,
by
I think they've done it so far, haven't they?
they've gotten us all to worship their money and
They got us working and making all the money and putting it in there and letting them do whatever they want with it.
mhm. And you mentioned before that there
They
were people in Hollywood and
working
politicians and
with them.
such.
That's why they want to keep things going and all the way it is.
So you're really talking about the New World Order, where
They're already in place.
the New World Order is here, and the
Reagan turned the country over and all that to the UN and everything when he was in office. The last term he was in, he already turned it over. We're under control of the United Nations and everything.
you're right, and actually,
This isn't the United States anymore, although the name's still there.
well, you know, we
But there's certain countries that are obsolete from the system. The main countries that are in control of this project and everything are Russia, you with me?
mhm.
United States, okay, Germany, because something happened with Germany and everything that we got a few scientists out of there during World War II that helped us out and everything in '47. So that's another story altogether and everything. But this thing is very complex. But the information's out there. It's just the stuff I'm talking about is pieces of the puzzle that nobody could finish the puzzle to know what the whole truth is. That's what I'm talking about here. But uh, China, I said United States, Russia, uh, these are the basic, and Germany and China. The rest of them, piss on them. And the reason why is because China's got the resources and money and all that stuff and everything. You heard that thing lately and all that where Obama had this secret deal with the premier of China and all that stuff
Mhm.
and everything that could affect our financial thing
Of course.
here and there. That's no joke. They let that out. They let that information out and everything. They're spilling the guts now. They're letting the truth out. That way, it's not shocking when all this shit happens and
Mhm.
everything, and everything. But see that the thing has been so desensitized in all the people in the movies and in the television and
We
everything to where when it happens, people aren't going to be that shocked. They're not. They're going to be stunned, and it just going.
go along with it.
It's going to go happen in a way where there's no panic, real panic to where they won't. It's like if I pull a gun out and point it at you, you got about 2 seconds. When I pull that trigger and everything, it's over with, right?
Right.
And you really, there's not much you can do right away. You know what's going to happen when I pull that trigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the minute I pull it, it's over with. So turn the scenario around. Now you see me coming down the road and everything, and I got a gun down by my side and all. Well, and I'm about 100 feet away from you. You got time now.
Right.
You got time to think, well, what am I going to do? How can I get away from that gun? He's got the gun, right? Well, I'll just pull mine out and shoot him, right?
Mm-hmm. You're talking about warning people.
Yeah. And they've got it so close now and everything that when it happens and everything, people
You're
are
not
not
going to
going to
have
have
time
time
to
to
react.
react. They're not going to have time to react. And even if I come out with this information and people put it together, they got to make a snap decision what I'm going to do. Now. Don't hesitate. Don't mess around and all. You got to make a decision right now and everything. You got to start preparing. Glenn Beck has been warning people about what to do. He's got his underground dorm shelter, whatever you want to call it, and everything, and supplies and getting supplies, and he's telling people all the time. He knows what's going on.
And Alex Jones.
Yes, because Alex Jones been kind of piecing it together. He knows a little bit. And I've listened to him and all, and listened to him. He's pretty. I think he pretty much knows, without me telling him what I know. Pretty much knows what's going to
Well,
happen.
he can't say everything on air
No,
because
because they'd come after him.
but they, he's talked to plenty of ex-military people. I'm sure they've given him information
Right.
off the record that he can't.
You ever seen that video of him confronting the FBI during the Waco thing?
Yes.
You see that?
Yes.
He was in danger then.
Oh, he's
You know
in
why?
danger every day.
Did you notice and all that? That when he was confronting that FBI agent, the FBI agent just laughed at him and didn't say nothing.
Because he's on a power
And
trip.
well, he knows.
That he can get away with it.
He knows he can get away with it. It's just like Obama spending all this money and everything and coming out on spending $4 billion on Cylinder and everything and all that. And he just, when they're asking him about, hey, why don't you explain why he did that? He just, he
Screw.
don't care because he's not the one doing it.
He's an agent.
He's just a puppet. He got elected and to be put in that position because at the time, to make it this real quick, every president and all that since Eisenhower has been elected to be put in that position as president.
Mm-hmm.
And they're picked to satisfy the majority of the people that want who they want in there. They're picked and then they're put in the position and then they're told and they're briefed and everything and then they're just there as a puppet
Right.
and everything. And yeah, it looks like the people elected them
But
because the majority picked them
it's an
and
illusion.
everybody's happy. Oh, we got we wanted in there and everything. But once they're up there in Washington, they follow exactly what they're told to do. And I'll give you an example and all that. When Carter was in there, he actually filed a report saying he saw a UFO down there in Georgia
Mm-hmm.
with a bunch of people and everything,
Yeah, I've
right?
seen that.
And he said, when I become president, and I'll tell you another president said this too, said, when I get in there, I'm going to get to the bottom of this, and I'm going to find out what the hell it is with these UFOs and stuff like that, right?
That's where he hit the ball.
And when he got in there, everybody's saying, what'd you find out? Tell us. Sending him letters. Tell us about the UFOs. Tell us about this. Tell us about that. He didn't say nothing. He shut up and he wouldn't say anything. And when he got out of there, they asked him and interviewed him and tried to get him in a book signing. They tried to get him to say, hey, can you tell us more about that UFO and stuff like that, or what you found out? Why didn't you? But they tried. They sent thousands of letters, organizations trying to get him to tell the truth about Roswell, right? And he wouldn't come out with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They did it with Clinton.
That's right.
Clinton. And the only thing Clinton did was give you a hint of there's something sinister going on when he made a speech and all, and he told this little kid that had wrote to him in this, He told this I forget, it was in Europe or something. He was doing a speech in public, and he said little Tommy or something like that. I forget what his name was. Wrote to me and asked if they were hiding alien craft in Area 51 and stuff like that and everything. And he said if they did, and if they are, they won't tell me about it. Remember that being on there?
Uh
Did you
huh.
ever hear that? He come out and he said, if they do, they didn't tell me about it. No, and I don't.
That's right up in your face.
It's telling you the truth. Clinton was actually telling you the truth and all that. And but Carter was scared
Yeah.
because basically Carter was in there just before I went in the army, and Carter was how he was handling the Iran hostage.